today. So, basically, let's see, is my captioner working? I apologize. Let me pull this up. Oh, okay, no, it's working. All right, got distracted here. So, what was I saying? So today we're gonna be talking about a few things. If I get too tired, I might have to not cover something and just push it to another stream perhaps, but I plan on covering 3 things. I might get too tired and have to split this stream up, but we'll see. Okay, so first of all, I want to go over just like the Google Monopoly cases that we were covering before, everything about that, do a refresher on what we've covered, and then talk about what I want to cover next. And then I do want to kind of do the same thing with my hair, go over like everything we've talked about before with my hair, what have I been doing since I last covered that material, as well as what's going to come next with my hair or hair routine rather stuff. And then after that, if I'm not too tired, I think that I might do a reaction to another lecture from the How to Start a Startup playlist. And that playlist, the people that put it on, it's from Stanford University, but the program through Stanford University, it used to be called Y Combinator, and they just changed their name to YC Root Access. I think I put that wrong in the description of this video and stuff, so I need to go fix that, I think. But yeah, so they just changed it from YC Combinator to YC Root Access. Or no, Y Combinator to Root Access. I can't speak. You know what I mean? Something like that, but whatever. And so yeah, what I think I'm gonna do is read some material about the Google cases, go over the hair stuff, we'll do the lecture, and this lecture also, it's the 8th lecture that they've done and that we've gone over. And we have 2 playlists about how to start a startup linked in the description of this video. The one labeled reaction commentary is my playlist with my commentary, and then the other one is just their stuff without my commentary, so you can go watch it in regular speed and all of that as well, because I'm going to be speeding this shit up and then talking a lot. So yeah, this one though, the 8th one, is on how to get started doing things that don't scale, as well as press. You know, I just realized I think I may have forgotten to put one person, because we're doing 3 speakers in here. I think I only put 2 speakers in a description, so I'm going to update the description. Whoops. But so it's got 3 speakers. One, Stanley Tang, founder of DoorDash. He covers how to get started. Walker Williams, he's the founder of Teespring, covers doing things that don't scale. And then Justin Kahn, founder of Twitch TV and partner at Y Combinator, covers press. So we're going to be watching that lecture as well, if I have time today. I have time, but if I don't get too tired today. So yeah, and then I will probably take a couple of extra breaks. First of all, I'm expecting a package, and I'm really hoping it arrives here tonight by 8. So I'll probably take a break around then just to go see if it's come. And then I might take another break or so just before I do the video, just depending on how things go. So yeah, I'm going to roll my intro, and then we're going to get right into it. I feel a little weird, but you know, life is hard. We're here now. Thanks for joining me. Hi, my name is Alexis, also known as Lexi or Deaf Child. I was born deaf, hard of hearing. I began doing business as Deaf Child 2013, marketing 2011, sales 2009. I've earned 50 plus certifications in marketing and sales. My Bachelor of Science from Loyola University, New Orleans, with a music industry studies major and a business administration minor. Deafness runs in my family genetically. Speech is not fully accessible to me. Anyway, I'm here to bitch about whatever the fuck is on my mind. So here we go. Visit my site at noladeafchild.com. So all the bugs are like really loud to me tonight, and I am wondering if you guys can hear all of that or not, or if it's just me. But yeah. So first of all, I want to get started with the Google Monopoly cases. And so I kind of want to just re-go over what we've gone over. That didn't come out right. You know what I mean, right? So recap what we've done. There it is. And then we're going to look at some new articles to me about this material. And then I'm going to read this shit and react to that. And then we'll go over, I'm not going to read all of this stuff. We're just going to kind of briefly go over some of the past coverage and some of the legal material on these cases. And so that will be kind of where we're going. So first up, our previous coverage that we've done is 2 Google Monopoly cases. We've mostly gone into the first one, which is the search and search ads on Judge Mehta's court docket. And we've also kind of talked about ad tech on Judge Brinkema's court docket. So the search and search ads monopoly case was originally filed in 2020, and the ad tech case was originally filed in 2023. Both of these cases have had over the last few years a lot of updates and proceedings legally. I believe the first one was finished around 2024, if I'm not mistaken. If there is new updates from it, we're going to find that out as we go, because I haven't been made aware of it yet. But the second one, to my understanding, was just decided this year, if I've got this down right. And then maybe there's like chances for appeals or some shit like that I don't really know about, but whatever. Some decisions have been made, you know, and so we're going to be looking at that shit. And again, I'm not a lawyer, so I could be wrong about all of or any of my interpretation of all of this. But it's just kind of like my reaction from a marketing perspective to all of this material. So let's go over what we've gone over. So we went over in the search and search ads. This is the one where we've really gone into the legal documentation for it, and we will be doing the ad tech legal documentation next. But I haven't started going over the ad tech legal documentation like the search documentation, because I wanted to separate those two, or I would get confused myself as to what I was looking at for what case, you know? And so I felt like for me to better differentiate everything, it would be better for me to finish this journey with the search case first and then move on to the ad case. But they are connected. And so that is part of what makes it even more confusing. But you know what? That's just how I'm going to go to process it myself. So within that, so far with the legal documentation, we've gone over the pre-trial brief and the trial materials, the initial complaint regarding case and discovery. We've gone over the amended complaint, the case and discovery management documents. We've gone over the plaintiff presentation from case and discovery. And then we've also done 52 trial exhibits, currently in 11 parts at this time. And I plan to finish it. So next up, after that, we'll be going over the ad tech focused legal documentation in the same way that we've been going over the search material. And then where we've kind of gone over both is in news coverage on the Google Monopoly as it relates to the search and ad technology. A lot of the material we find will be focused on one or the other, but then a lot of it talks about both. And so I'm just kind of lumping that all together, because when I end up pulling up the material, I kind of just end up lumping it all together, you know. So I'm keeping the legal documents separated, but the news coverage is combined. So far with the news coverage, we've looked at where I found out about these cases. Then we looked at understanding the difference. After that, I reviewed more of what the news had been saying. And my last review was on what are the differences in code red and yellow, which had to do with how Google prioritized situations, and this and it also had to do with procedures involved in their workflow related to that as well, and their working conditions and their work life. But that one, it is related, I feel, to both cases. So yeah, so I believe this one here is also going to be in this little realm here. So yeah, moving on, we're going to jump right on into the news articles now on this material. So from CNBC, we've got an ad here called Google might lose its $26 billion search deals. Analysts say that could fuel its AI growth. And this is from Mackenzie Siglos. I am so sorry if I said that wrong, as well as Kif Loosewing. And it was published August 27th, 2025. So key points. Federal District Judge Amit Mehta, I am so sorry if I said that wrong, is expected to soon issue a ruling on remedies. Let's see if this works. Nope. On remedies in Google's search antitrust case. Wall Street analysts have considered the upside if Google stopped shelling out billions and instead redirected that money into its Gemini AI and cloud. I am feeling like extra ADHD today, and fucking I can't speak for shit, so I'm like, yeah, let's do a live stream. That's a great idea. Anyway, Google's proposed remedy points in that direction, allowing shorter default contracts and multiple providers instead of blanket exclusivity. So yeah, so these are some of the key points here about what could be happening and where we're seeing things go. And it could also explain a shift that we've already been seeing, you know. Because I feel like it wasn't that long ago where featured snippets were still relatively, you know, useful, and they were relatively new. It was like within, like, I feel like changes within Google happen so quick now, you know, in terms of major shifts in the representation of the search results. Like there used to be design updates and user experience updates, but it wasn't these types of major shifts in the way we find the information. So it went from like the featured snippets to the knowledge graphs, you know, and you wanted to be, went from zero placement, which would be a featured snippet, or like, you know, being number one placement used to be the first thing, and then it was a featured snippet. And then we have more of like these knowledge graphs where we have more details on these featured snippets, right? And then, and I'm talking about like organic, like top placements above the fold placements on Google search pages. And now we're at like AI. AI is everything for those search results, right? And so you can kind of see that shift already having happened. So yeah, oh, they have a little video here. Are we gonna watch this video? Do you want to watch this video? Let's fucking watch this video. Does it have captions though? I did not see. If it does not have captions, I don't know. Let's try it.
Remedies in the Google search antitrust trial expected any day now and could spell the end of Google's exclusivity deal with Apple. For today's Tech Check, Mackenzie Siglos explains why.
So, it's not letting me put captions on.
That might actually be a silver lining for Google.
But it looks like it's just kind of recapping. Basically, he's saying that, you know, about the AI and the antitrust ruling, Google could lose a $26 billion deal. So far it hasn't really said anything different. But, oh wait, is this the caption right here? Hold on. Am I out of it?
Morning, Mac.
Hey, good morning, Carl. So Google has been paying over $20.
Okay, now I just realized there is a caption right here, but it's just off from what the sound is happening. That didn't come out right. Something like that.
$6 billion a year to
yeah, it's just delayed. The caption's way delayed.
Those default.
Okay. Sorry about that. Well, I was going to try that, but the caption being so delayed is throwing me off, so we're not going to do that. Anyway, moving on, we're going to keep reading this. It says, any day now, a federal judge is expected to issue a landmark ruling that could upend some of the most lucrative deals in Silicon Valley, Google's default search contracts. At stake is more than $26 billion a year, $26 billion of which goes to Apple. Did I say 26 billion, which goes to Apple? I meant 20 billion, which goes to Apple. So it's 26 billion is at stake, and 20 of that 26 goes to Apple. And another thing that's been uncovered in these search lawsuits is how embedded Apple is into Google in terms of profit sharing. So yeah. And it says that's nearly a quarter of Alphabet's operating income. You know, I forgot that Google started operating under the umbrella company of Alphabet, similar to the way Facebook did with Meta because of the monopoly concepts, and that's just really entertaining to me. I wonder if Facebook or Meta will get. I haven't looked into any Facebook or Meta lawsuits, but has that happened? Should that happen? I don't know. Anyway. So then it says, for decades, the Apple-Google pact has helped determine who controls the internet, which is exactly why it's now in the crosshairs. U.S. District Judge Amit Mehta ruled last year that Google held a monopoly in search and ads. He's been weighing remedies since the final phase of the trial wrapped in May, with a separate case on Google's ad business set to begin next month under a bigger judge. Did I say bigger judge? I meant to say different judge. I was looking at a bigger window. It was what my little screen thing was labeled as. And yeah, I said bigger instead of different. That's what happens when you try to read two things at once. Anyway, second. Maybe this judge is bigger, who knows? I wonder if I could zoom in here, if that will help. I'm gonna zoom. Because I feel like last time I didn't zoom and you couldn't really see shit. While Google risks losing some search traffic and predictability, analysts say Apple could take a bigger financial hit. The impact will hinge on whether Apple lines up new deals and how broadly the ruling applies. But the issue is, what new deals is there to line up? Because no matter what we do right now, you got to build up that profitability. Like, you're not going to go from 0 back to 100. You know what I mean? Like, who else is as big as Google? Like, you're going to have, and then how many baskets, you know, they say don't put all your eggs in one basket, which would be Google. Well, how many other baskets are there really to put your eggs into? Yes, I know there's smaller baskets out there, but how many smaller baskets? You know what I mean? I don't know. Where the fuck was I? Shit. Marco. I don't know. We're going to start here. Jeffries Analysts says, the fuck am I reading? What am I saying, rather? Jeffries Analysts say the judge may block exclusive contracts, but still allow some payments. Even so, Apple's pre-tax profits could drop by as much as 7%. Some economists and Wall Street analysts believe Google might come out ahead in the long run, freed from costly deals that no longer drive demand. Searching for competition. Barclays analyst said in an August 5th note that if Google were to unwind the payments and contracts, it would still be nearly impossible for smaller peers to compete. Mega-cap rival Microsoft has poured $100 billion into Bing and hasn't been able to catch Google's Chrome. Apple Senior Vice President of Services, Eddie Q, testified during the antitrust trial that no price Microsoft could offer would be enough to justify switching to Bing because Google delivered stronger results and a better monetization engine. I don't believe there's a price in the world that Microsoft could offer us. They offer to give us Bing for free. They could give us the whole company, Q said. Apple executives contend that it's easy for users to switch search engines. Currently, Apple allows Americans to switch to Yahoo, Bing, DuckDuckGo, or Ecosia as their default search engine, but few do. And even if they do, to my understanding from these documents, aren't they all connected to Google right now? So wouldn't they need to have their own indexing? And do they have the ability to build up indexing in the way that Google has? You know what I mean? I don't know. Anyway, it says, I think their search engine is the best, is a quote from Apple CEO Tim Cook about Google in 2018. Economist Lone Smith, who modeled how people decide which search engine to use, described the phenomenon. The fuck am I saying? I'm like an enemy in Finding Nemo right now. Okay, so describe the phenomenon as a natural monopoly, where scale breeds quality, and quality reinforces scale. I don't understand this deal it has with Apple, because if they didn't pay Apple $20 billion, do they think people would really be using another search engine? I don't see that, Smith told CNBC. Smith likened Google to a utility. Breaking it up makes little economic sense. How do we get our water, electrical, and all that? We have a regulated monopoly. We don't go and break it up, he said. We understand that there's an efficient outcome for society, and we just don't want the water company to be exploiting us. Here, they've got another video in here, but I'm not even going to try it. From a pure economics perspective, some on Wall Street would argue that the payments look like unnecessary insurance and that Google's dominance is sticky enough without them. Data suggests users opt for Google even when there is a choice. In Europe, where regulators forced users to pick their own default after a European Commission ruling against Google, the company's market share barely budged, with StatCounter data showing it still hovers around 90%. Dan Niles, founder of Niles Investment Management, told CNBC that while Europe proves Google can thrive without these payments, the U.S. market moves faster, and what's next matters more than what's lost. Google, to me, quite honestly, once this is done, next year, if they continue down this path, it could be one of the best performing stocks out there, Niles said. Even Google's proposed remedy points in that direction, allowing shorter default contracts and multiple providers instead of blanket exclusivity, while warning that the bigger risk comes from the Department of Justice's push for search data sharing. The decision. Former FTC Chair William, Kovacic, told CNBC that the Justice Department is essentially betting that limiting Google's exclusivity deals will open the door for new competitors to emerge. In part, it's an act of faith, he said, though past cases have shown that once barriers are removed, innovation often follows in unexpected ways. Rebecca Allensworth, a scholar of antitrust and big tech, said that the payments aren't necessarily what keep people using Google and liking it to innovation insurance, freezing the ecosystem so that rivals don't have a chance to compete. Google fought really hard to be able to make those payments, said Allensworth, a law professor at Vanderbilt. It makes the industry innovation-proof, in a way. Or at least, if there's going to be innovation, it's going to be by and for the benefit of Google. Kovacic is totally probably saying that wrong. I cannot speak. Okay, fuck that. Kovacic warned that a Chrome divestiture, one of the more extreme remedies floated, might be more symbolic than effective, calling it a flashy, shiny object that wouldn't do much to solve the issue. The big breakup has always been antitrust fascination, he said, but you can wonder whether that distracts you from solutions that have more to do with solving the competitive problem that you've identified today. The Department of Justice, concerned that Google could repeat its playbook with its artificial intelligence platform Gemini, is also pushing for restrictions on exclusive AI distribution deals and even proposing data sharing mandates. These would force Google to give rivals access to anonymized data about what users search for and which results they click. But Allensworth emphasized that it's not a zero-sum game. You can have a very strong antitrust remedy, and then 2, 5, 10 years later, that company is actually doing extremely well, she said. These are not existential threats to the company. AI opportunity. Since 2003, before the iPhone or Chrome existed, Google's default search deals with Apple have helped shape the internet. In 2017, Alphabet CEO Sundar Pichai and Cook were spotted sipping red wine at Tamarind, an upscale Vietnamese restaurant in Palo Alto, while their teams finalized one of the most lucrative arrangements in tech, keeping Google the default on Apple devices. 8 years later, the same two CEOs are still at the helm, but the dynamics have changed. A new era of search is emerging, driven not by contracts, but by generative AI. Wall Street analysts have considered the upside if Google stopped writing Apple a $20 billion check and redirected that money into AI and cloud, lifting profits while keeping its dominance intact. Let's then assume that Google is limited from paying for search distribution deals, and others can leverage Google's search tech stack. Then what other properties can Google prioritize that may fall outside the scope of these cases? Mused Bernstein, Analysts in April. Gemini. I don't know if it's Bernstein or Bernstein, I'm sorry. Niles said that with Gemini, the company has a chance to shift from being seen as lagging in AI to potentially offering the strongest product on the market, a change already showing up in benchmark tests. Pichai said during the trial that he spoke to Cook about adding Gemini to Apple devices, but that integration hasn't yet materialized. In June 2024, Apple announced the integration of OpenAI's ChatGPT at WWDC. Apple's Q testified that other AI services like Perplexity and Anthropic could also be added to Safari as options, but neither can touch Google's scale. Perplexity reportedly handles 15 million queries per day, compared to Google's 10 billion. And Pichai said Google isn't standing still, testifying in April that AI will deeply transform search. Whether that transformation cements Google's, is it cements or cements? Cements? Shit. Whether that transformation cements Google's dominance or finally opens the door to rivals is the real test now. I don't know, that didn't sound right. None of what the fuck I say sounded right. Is cement? Siemens? I'm really just not over that. Okay, let's move on. Now we're going to go check out something from White and Case. It's called In Landmark Decision, DC Federal Court holds Google maintained an illegal monopoly in internet search and advertising markets and sets the stage for future enforcement actions. And this is from Robert Milne and Edward Thrasher. Sorry if that's wrong. Okay, so it says, on August 8, 2024, Judge Amit P. Mehta of the United States District Court for the District of Columbia issued his much anticipated and long awaited opinion in the U.S. Department. Let's see, actually. No. Got distracted. Okay, I'm back in here. I'm back. All right. I'm sorry. So, Mehta of the United States District Court for the District of Columbia issued his much anticipated and long awaited opinion in the United States Department of Justice's, I feel like that's really redundant, case challenging Google's alleged dominance in online search markets. In his nearly 300-page opinion, Judge Mehta held that Google is dominant in 2 online search markets and that its agreements with major original equipment manufacturers requiring Google to be the default search engine are de facto exclusive dealing agreements that should be deemed exclusionary under the antitrust laws. the landmark ruling provides guideposts for future antitrust actions challenging tech firms, including in emerging areas such as artificial intelligence. Google maintained its illegal monopoly in online search markets. Following a 10-week bench trial, Judge Mehta concluded that Google possessed monopoly power in the general search and general search text advertising markets and violated Section 2 of the Sherman Act by entering exclusive dealing agreements with certain equipment manufacturers. For example, Apple, Samsung, Verizon, and others, which made Google's search engines the exclusive default on smartphones and web browsers. The court found that Google illegally maintained its monopoly in the relevant markets through these agreements. To be honest, I'm over here kind of burping and shit while I'm trying to speak. It's not fun. Anyway, I am super professional. The court credited Google's investment and innovation in search and recognized that Google's partners view Google search as vastly superior to competing products. It thus noted that Google had likely initially obtained its monopoly status through competitive and lawful means, but the court held that Google's exclusive agreements allowed it to unlawfully maintain that monopoly. More specifically, Judge Mehta held that these agreements caused anti-competitive effects because they 1. Foreclosed a substantial share of the market, 2. Deprived rivals of sufficient user data scale to compete with Google, and 3. Reduced the incentives of rivals and nascent competitors from investing and innovating in the markets. Notably, as part of the agreement, Google paid its partners tens of billions of dollars in exchange for exclusive default status, where the court found had allowed Google to maintain a dominant share in the markets for more than a decade. The case is far from over, and the issue of remedy has not yet been addressed. Such remedies may range from simply prohibiting Google from entering into exclusive agreements for default search engine status, to requiring Google to share its data and or code with its search competitors like Microsoft, and or, at the extreme, ordering a breakup of Google. Separately, Google has already announced that it intends to appeal the ruling, although the timing and scope of that appeal is not yet clear. In short, the outcome and exact impact of the ruling will not be known for potentially many years. Nonetheless, this is a high-profile ruling that may be used as a template for United States plaintiffs or enforcers looking to challenge firms perceived to be in a similar dominant position as Google, where such firms have licensing and or distribution agreements that are arguably exclusionary. A sign of things to come. In combination with the Google decision, pledges from enforcers around the world to protect competition in artificial intelligence have made the situation for regulators and private plaintiffs to advance a claim against tech firms more ripe than ever. For example, on July 23, 2024, the U.S. Department of Justice, the U.S. FTC, the European Commission, and the UK CMA issued a joint statement on competition in generative AI foundation models and AI products, warning that, in their view, we are at a global inflection point as to AI technology, including foundational models, and that they see a variety of antitrust risks involving AI. Specific areas of risk cited are that firms may attempt to restrict key inputs for the development of AI technologies, that firms with existing market power in digital markets could entrench or extend that power in adjacent AI markets or across ecosystems, taking advantage of feedback and network effects to increase barriers to entry and harm competition. That lack of choice for content creators among buyers could enable the exercise of monopoly, am I saying that right? Power, and that AI may be developed or wielded in ways that harm consumers, entrepreneurs, or other market participants. The enforcers thus have vowed to remain vigilant of these risks and to I don't think I'm speaking right, but you know what? I cannot hear S's or K's, so do you know how fucking hard it is for me to say SKS? Fuck! Anyway, I can't speak. Language deprivation is a bitch. The enforcers thus have vowed to remain vigilant of these risks. God damn it, I tried. E for X. I can't even say Lexi, like, right? So, Alexis. That had to be a joke. Anyway, to remain vigilant of these risks, I'm gonna stop trying, and to monitor and address them. Whenever I say anything with an S, I feel like that old dude in Family Guy. Anyway, Judge Mehta's ruling against Google provides a roadmap for doing so, and it will likely be seized on by U.S. enforcers and/or private plaintiffs to support arguments that our allegedly dominant tech firms have crossed the antitrust line through agreements with major downstream clients, which can be portrayed as limiting rivals' access to such clients. So yeah. Basically, I feel like this is just a lot of legalese and technological jargon. It's the only thing I don't really like about this article is I feel like it has a lot of good information, but it would be real cool if it was in some plain fucking language. So in TLDR, what I got from this is they're saying Google's relatively fucked in terms of that. Theoretically, if you want to consider the outcome of this case, did they win or lose this case? No, they did not fucking win shit. You know what I mean? So yeah, you could say that they're fucked in terms of they're losing this case, right? But they're not fucked in terms of they got a really strong opportunity here with the market share they have on AI and their ability to dominate there, and where the trend is going with AI right now. So yeah. Alright. Next up, we're going to look at NPR. But before we do, I accidentally did a little shifting. But before we do, I'm going to take a little quick breaky break. I'm just going to run and see if my fucking, package is here real quick. And then I'm going to be right back. So, yeah. My package is not here yet, which is a bummer. Is my captioner working? That is also a bummer. Okay, it is working. It's just being delayed. So for the deaf people, I had basically just said that fucking my package isn't here yet, which is really annoying because I had paid for like the overnight delivery or whatever, and I can't remember. I think I ordered it either Wednesday or Thursday. I have to go look, but I was really thinking, like, I knew that it wouldn't really be here by Friday because I felt like I placed my order too late, but I was really hoping it would be here today. I mean, I don't know. I'm even wrong. Oh, I am getting a call. I apologize. I am leaving you again. Excuse me. Had a phone call. I'm back for real now. Let's see if my captioner is working. Alrighty. So, let's see here. Alrighty. Where am I? I apologize. I'm still getting used to live streaming again. And then everything's in a different place because I had rearranged where some of my buttons were in OBS. It's just like a bitch. Anyway, okay, so back to NPR. So this article here is on the Justice Department and Google battle over how to fix a search engine monopoly. So I believe this one is still about it being more about a search, because it can be confusing, right? Because with the search monopoly, they look at it in two reference points, one being as a search engine and the second being through the advertisements on the search engine. And then that's a separate monopoly case from 2020 than what was filed in 2023. And that's about particularly their other means of advertising, but I do believe that the search ads are kind of, so it's like connected but separate, you know? Because the search ads part are in both, but then the ad tech is about all of the rest of the ad technology. And the search engine is about the search engine, you know what I mean? So yeah. But, so this is from NPR. It's by, I believe this is pronounced Jacqueline Diaz. I'm sorry if I said her first name wrong. I'm pretty sure I got the last name right. But yeah, it's got a picture here, and the caption of this picture, it says, Abigail Slater, U.S. Assistant Attorney General for the Antitrust Division, speaks to members of the media outside federal court in Washington, D.C. on Monday, April 21st, 2025. Google will square off against the Justice Department and dozens of state attorneys and attorneys general in a Washington courtroom over what changes the judge will order to prevent the company from monopolizing the online search market. So yeah, I'm assuming that's a picture of her. Alright, and it says nearly a year ago, U.S. District Judge Amit Mehta ruled that Google had acted illegally to maintain a monopoly on the search engine market. It was a decision that sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley and Washington. Now, lawyers for Google and the Justice Department are facing off again at the E. Barrett Prettyman United States Courthouse in Washington, D.C. This time it's to determine what penalties Meta will levy against the roughly $2 trillion company. Over the next several weeks, both sides will present evidence and are expected to call a host of witnesses, including major tech industry players. That includes Google CEO Sundar Pichai and Gabriel Weinberg, CEO of search engine competitor DuckDuckGo, as well as senior VPs of Yahoo, Apple, Microsoft, ChatGPT, and Google, according to court documents, though that lineup could change. Google maintains that it will appeal Meta's decision once the remedies phase of the trial is complete. The tech giant argues that the DOJ's proposed remedies are both dangerous and unprecedented and would hurt American consumers, the economy, and tech leadership and innovation. On Sunday, the night before the hearing was to begin, Google issued a lengthy public blog post saying that the DOJ's sweeping remedy proposals are both unnecessary and harmful. In response, on Monday morning, as she stood outside the courthouse, Gail Slater, the DOJ's assistant attorney for the antitrust decision, replied, I don't know if that was a hiccup or a burp or kind of both. I apologize. I think that was a burp. You know what is dangerous? The threat Google presents to our freedom of speech and the freedom of digital market innovation. I feel so classy, like I'm Shrek over here. Slater was joined by other attorneys for the government who read from statements about an hour before proceedings began. They did not take questions from the gathered media. Inside the courtroom, 2 tables full of lawyers from the DOJ and Google sat elbow to elbow as proceedings began. David Dahlquist, the acting deputy director of the DOJ's Antitrust Civil Litigation Division, spoke for the government in opening statements. In a roughly 45-minute presentation, he laid out a list of aggressive demands that the government wants to see Google implement. The DOJ is calling on the company to divest from Chrome, its web browser, and I'm over here thinking of end-to-end stuff. Okay, I'm sorry. And to end exclusive distribution agreements with phone makers like Apple and Samsung, through which Google paid them to establish its search engine as the default browser on their phones. The DOJ is also calling on Judge Meta to prevent Google from establishing similar exclusive distribution agreements for its AI programs and apps, like its Gemini chatbot, Dahlquist said Monday. We are not here for a Pyrrhic victory. We are here to restore competition, Dahlquist said. This is an inflection point, he said. He asked the court, would the U.S. allow Google, a monopolist, control the search market or allow competition to prevail? The beginning of the end of a tech love affair. The legal battle began in 2020 when the Justice Department filed its antitrust lawsuit against Google. The crux of the government's argument is that Google has unfair control of a huge market share in a U.S. search, a valuation eclipsing $1 trillion. The Department of Justice's original lawsuit, filed alongside 11 state attorneys general, said the company struck multi-billion-dollar deals with Apple and Samsung to make sure its search engine was the default on their phones' web browsers. Those agreements effectively boxed out Google's rivals, the DOJ said. Google has denied this. This case marked the beginning of the end of the long love affair between the tech world and Washington, D.C. For many years, the tech industry expanded with little regulatory control. But major tech players, Meta, Amazon, and Apple, are now also facing federal lawsuits. Oh, so Meta is getting sued. In the very same courthouse where the Google remedy trial is playing out, Meta is currently facing its own antitrust case filed by the Federal Trade Commission. The agency argues Meta has abused its power and acted as a monopoly by acquiring rivals in order to vanquish them as competitors. And this isn't the government's only suit against Google. They filed another in 2023. Last week, a different federal judge ruled that Google's control of the online advertising and ad tech markets violates U.S. antitrust laws. What were the DOJ's arguments? The government's most forceful request is for Judge Meta to order the tech company to sell off its popular Chrome browser. Chrome is a significant gateway to user searches and drives billions in search revenue for Google, Dahlquist said. It's the world's most popular search engine. Forcing Google to sell off this piece of the company would allow rivals to compete, he said. He called it a market reality that Google's ownership of Chrome disincentivizes the emergence of new competitive alternatives, and that this is a violation of federal antitrust laws. Google, for its part, has roundly rejected this proposal. The DOJ is also asking that Google stop making monthly third-party payments to phone makers to ensure its browser is the default option on those phones. Dahlquist said Google has proposed deleting the word exclusive in their agreements with Apple and other companies with any other browser distribution agreements. That is not enough, he said, arguing that Google can still wedge out other companies by using their existing base agreements and their ability to offer phone makers large sums of money. The government wants to go a step further to ensure any remedy prevents Google from establishing similar exclusive agreements for its generative AI products, like Gemini. Dahlquist said the rise of Google's AI products could open up another field the company could dominate if it's allowed to keep using exclusive contracts, and they want to prevent that from happening. How did Google respond? Google has long vowed to appeal, but first must make it through this remedy trial process. The company has contended for the past 4 years that it has never acted as a monopoly and that changes, even small ones, are unnecessary. The company's leaders have said its search product is superior to competitors, and that's why it dominates the industry. John E. Schmittling, a lawyer for Google, argued in opening statements that the DOJ's list of remedies in this case is just a wish list for competitors, and that it will enable them to get resources that took Google decades to develop. The DOJ's proposals aim to prop up individual competitors, he said. Google views the government's demands to divest from Chrome as its most prohibitive and most extreme request. The company's leaders have said splitting off Chrome would break the hugely popular feature, a statement Schmittling, I don't think I'm saying that right, repeated in court. Google can't divest from the Chrome browser without harming other Google products, like the Chrome operating system and Chromebook laptops, he said. Addressing the DOJ's effort to prevent Google from including Gemini in future exclusive distribution agreements, Schmittling said, I'm saying that like different every time I think, that Gemini was not the subject of the antitrust case, and the company does not hold a monopoly on AI products. Schmittling? I'm like, is it okay to call that dude Schmidt? I don't know. Pointed to the success of competitors' AI chatbots, such as ChatGPT, Meta AI, and Grok, I never heard of that one, as evidence that competition within this space is healthy and varied. The notion that ChatGPT can't get distribution is absurd. They have more distribution than anyone, he said. Why is this case a big deal? Rebecca Hall Allensworth, a professor of antitrust law at Vanderbilt Law School, points out this is the government's biggest antitrust case in decades. This case is an extremely big deal. It's hard to overstate it, she said. It is at least as big a deal as the Microsoft case, which is the last big antitrust case that we had, and that was 25 years ago. That Microsoft case, which was filed in 1998, was about the company bundling its browser, Internet Explorer, with its Windows operating system. It nearly led to the company being split in two, but Microsoft and the DOJ settled. Maybe I should cover the 1998 Microsoft case. Allensworth added that it's also comparable to cases like the Justice Department's 1906 Standard Oil case, which is widely considered the first major monopoly case. A federal court eventually found that the oil conglomerate owned by John D. Rockefeller had illegally monopolized the American refining industry. Standard Oil was ordered to break up into around 40 different companies as a result. Allensworth said the outcome of this part of Google's trial is hard to predict, but that demanding Google divest from Chrome is not out of the question. So yeah, I think, I don't know, I'm relatively fascinated with it. Honestly though, I feel like it is like a huge deal in terms of, I see a lot of news coverage in terms of major outlets talk about it. I've seen a lot of technology blogs on it, and I've seen a lot of legal blogs on it. And I have covered some search engine blogs that have talked about it, obviously, but I am surprised that I haven't seen more mainstream marketers that I'm familiar with that I've covered previously on my channel discuss this, or if they have, I missed it. So yeah. Okay. Moving on to AdExchanger.com. So AdExchanger posted an article from Allison Schiff called "Google is found guilty of operating an ad tech monopoly." So now we're on a different case. So those first three articles that we read in this live stream were all about the search monopoly in Judge Mehta's court from originally filed 2020, but obviously that shit is an ongoing clusterfuck. Now we are moving on to a discussion about the ad technology in Judge Brenkema's court filed 2020. 2023. This one's filed 2023. My bad. With shit ongoing. Yeah. Alright. Anyway. So, let's see. Let's make this a little bigger. Serious news headlines don't typically include exclamation marks, but this isn't just any news story. On Thursday morning, U.S. District Court Judge Leonie Brenkema published her long-awaited ruling in U.S. versus Google, finding Google guilty of having monopolized two online advertising markets. According to Judge Brenkema, Google violated Section 2 of the Sherman Act by willfully acquiring and maintaining monopoly power in the open web display publisher ad server market and the open web display ad exchange market. She also determined that Google unlawfully tied its publisher ad server with its ad exchange. Judge Brenkema wasn't convinced, however, by the government's argument that there is a relevant market for open web display advertiser ad networks. Can't win them all. And then it says, read the full decision here. I'm not going to do that right now. But yeah. And then it says, to those who wait. The ad tech industry had been waiting with bated breath and some consternation at this point for a decision from Judge Brenkema. It's been nearly 5 months since closing arguments were delivered in late November, right before Thanksgiving. I think this is from April 2025. So yeah. The trial itself took place over 3 rapid-fire weeks of testimony in September, with the expectation that there would be a ruling by early this year. But then, crickets. speculation swirled that the newly installed Trump administration might interfere in some way in Google's favor, considering how the tech industry cozied up to the new president in the lead up to his inauguration. But Trump's DOJ has publicly reaffirmed its commitment to an aggressive antitrust stance regarding big tech in general and Google in particular. Now that there's a verdict in the ad tech case, the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia will set a briefing schedule and hearing date to determine the appropriate remedies for these antitrust violations. Skating on spoliation. I don't know if I'm saying that right. The Department of Justice is calling for both structural and behavioral remedies, including a potential forced divestiture of Google's ad tech assets and a ban on Google self-preferencing, am I saying that one right? Its own ad products and services. In other words, pop your popcorn. But on the issue of spoliation, Google skates. What the fuck does this mean? Like, look, man. Okay. It's just like a legal term. In law, it's the destruction, alteration, or concealment of evidence. Alright. So, anyway. Oh. You know what? Honestly, though, I'm surprised that Google skated by on that. Because if I remember correctly, they were, like, the evidence had come forward where they were very clearly trying to hide shit in the search case. You know what I'm saying? But you know what? I haven't read the ad tech case, so maybe they weren't able to produce the right material related to that on this case. But, so I haven't looked at the evidence yet, but if the evidence is at all similar in the ad tech case as it is to the search case, I'm going to be very shocked that Google got away with that. Anyway, so then it says, what the fuck am I saying? It says the government had also requested that the court sanction Google for spoliation, which is the act of destroying, oh fuck, I didn't even need to fucking Google that shit, it's fucking right here, fuck man, which is the act of destroying or otherwise suppressing evidence or failing to take reasonable steps to preserve it. The DOJ wasn't amused either by Google's practice of labeling routine emails and other documents as, that's it, right? That's what the fuck they did, as attorney-client privilege, allegedly as a way to shield non-confidential information from exposure during litigation. Because it wouldn't even, they would just be labeling every fucking thing as attorney-client privilege, right? They'd be like, hey, let's break the law. This is attorney-client privilege now. Now, you know what I mean? So it can't, like, yeah. In my opinion, roughly summing up what the fuck I saw previously. So yeah, and then it says, Judge Brinkema agreed in her ruling that Google's systemic disregard of the evidentiary rules regarding spoliation of evidence and its misuse may well be sanctionable. But she, like Judge Amit Mehta in his search antitrust ruling against Google last year, decided not to go so far as to sanction Google or assume adverse inference, which is a legal principle whereby a court assumes that any evidence that is not presented by a party is unfavorable to that party. Are you fucking kidding me? But no fucking shit! Anyway, why no sanctions? Because there's no point, essentially. There was already enough evidence for her to find Google guilty of operating monopolies in 2 online ad markets. Still, she wrote, as in Google search, the court's decision not to sanction should not be understood as condoning Google's failure to preserve chat evidence. Oh yeah, I forgot about that too. They were also deleting their chat. Anyway, so, publisher vindication. But Judge Brinkema did not mince words regarding Google's behavior in the conclusion of her ruling. For over a decade, she wrote, Google has tied its publisher ad server and ad exchange together through contractual policies and technological integration, which enabled the company to establish and protect its monopoly power in these two markets. Because, as she notes, being a monopolist isn't just about establishing dominance, it's about taking actions to maintain it. Google further entrenched its monopoly power by imposing anti-competitive policies on its customers and eliminating desirable features, she continued. In addition to depriving rivals of the ability to compete, this exclusionary conduct substantially harmed Google's publisher customers, the competitive process, and, ultimately, consumers of information on the open web. It says there's no official mic drop emoji, unfortunately. They've got a mic and then a down arrow, which I think is kind of cute. And then it says Google will of course challenge their ruling accordingly to Lee Ann Mulholland, Google's Vice President of Regulatory Affairs, who said in a statement, "We won half of this case and we will appeal the other half." Oh, okay. Well, no surprise. And then it says the court found that our advertiser tools and our acquisitions, such as DoubleClick, don't harm competition, Mulholland stated. "We disagree with the court's decision regarding our publisher tools. Publishers have many options, and they choose Google because our ad tech tools are simple, affordable, and effective." In other Google antitrust news, the remedy phase for the search case begins on Monday in Washington, D.C. Last year, Google was found guilty of operating a monopoly over the internet search market and the search text advertising market. Its punishment in that case will be decided over the next few weeks. So it's probably been decided. Unless they didn't. Who knows? But yeah, I'm really entertained by all of this because they're over here. Because what I'm getting from this information is they're basically saying like, Judge Brenkema said they're doing a bunch of fucked up shit, and Google was like, yeah, it's not that bad. We're not going to change shit. Get over it. I'm just kidding. That's not what they said. That's just what I'm getting from it. Anyway, then it says, in the meantime, and as we wait for next steps in U.S. versus Google, Ad Tech Edition, read on for our detailed coverage of the first week of the Ad Tech trial and closing arguments. Okay, so they have, honestly, they have a trial on okay. Honestly, I might keep this in mind, try to keep this in mind to include that shit whenever I am going over the ad tech material. Honestly, it's probably like a good idea. Alright, moving on. So now we've got a press release from the Office of Public Affairs from the DOJ. Let's see. Let's try. Alright, so the Department of Justice prevails in a landmark antitrust case against Google. And this was published Thursday, April 17, 2025. And it says, today the Antitrust Division of the Department of Justice prevailed in its second monopolization case against Google. In United States et al. Versus Google, the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia held that Google violated antitrust law by monopolizing open web digital advertising markets. According to the court, Google harmed Google's I'm feeling tongue-tied. Google harmed Google's publishing customers, the competitive process, and ultimately, consumers of information on the open web. This is a landmark victory in the ongoing fight to stop Google from monopolizing the digital public square, said Attorney General Pamela Bondi. This Department of Justice will continue taking bold legal action to protect the American people from encroachments on free speech and free markets by tech companies. The court's ruling is clear. Google is a monopolist and has abused its monopoly power, said Assistant Attorney General Abigail Slater of the Justice Department's Antitrust Division. Google's unlawful dominance allows them to censor and even deplatform American voices. And at the same time, Google destroyed and hid information that exposed its illegal conduct. Today's opinion confirms Google's controlling hand over online advertising and, increasingly, the internet itself. I am extraordinarily proud of the dedicated public servants whose tireless efforts led to today's decision. Today's decision follows a 15-day trial in September 2024 in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia. In January 2023, the Justice Department, along with attorneys general of several states and the Commonwealth of Virginia, filed a civil antitrust lawsuit against Google for monopolizing key digital advertising technologies, referred to as the ad tech stack, that website publishers depend on to buy and sell ads that reach millions of customers. As alleged in the complaint, through a series of acquisitions and anti-competitive auction manipulation, Google subverted competition for over 15 years. As a result of Google's anti-competitive and exclusionary conduct, its ad tech competitors were neutralized or eliminated. So yeah, basically, that I know of, they're really, okay, so there's like over-the-top networks, or there's like, which is how you get your ad on things like Amazon, Roku, and shit like that, you know. And then there's like things like Trade Desk, where you have programmatic advertising, and you are getting your ads featured in network such as Hulu or some shit, you know. There are platforms such as those, but when it comes to platforms where you can get onto, like, anybody that has a website can then go to one place to profit off of running ads on their website type thing, like, the main way to do that is through Google, you know. And there's like other means, I guess you could technically do it, but the Google, there's nothing else on the market like Google when it comes to that. Like, I don't know of any other platform that has the type of mainstream ability that they offer when it comes to people who want to run ads. They pay Google to put their ads on various websites, and then people who own a website, they will pay, get money from Google to run those ads on their site, right? Let me know what other platforms are out there like that. That's the monopoly issue, is it's like, even if somebody else has the resources, Google, so many people are embedded in using Google, it would take a lot to get them to switch over. You know what I mean? It's a very similar issue with the search engine, where I explained like the egg in the basket situation. But yeah, alright. So next up, from the Department of Justice as well, and this is from January 2023. And so what we just looked at was from 2025. I probably should have done this in different order, but whatever, we're here now. This is from before, when they so that was the result of them suing, and this is them deciding to sue, basically. So it says, Justice Department sues Google for monopolizing digital advertising technologies. So it says through, oh, you know, I just realized here we go. Through serial acquisitions and anti-competitive auction manipulation, Google subverted competition in internet advertising technologies. Today, the Justice Department, along with the Attorneys General of California, Colorado, Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, Rhode Island, Tennessee, and Virginia, filed a civil antitrust suit against Google for monopolizing multiple digital advertising technology products in violation of Sections 1 and 2 of the Sherman Act. Filed in the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia, the complaint alleges that Google monopolizes key digital advertising technologies, collectively referred to as the ad tech stack, that website publishers depend on to sell ads and that advertisers rely on to buy ads and reach potential customers. Website publishers use ad tech tools to generate advertising revenue that supports the creation and maintenance of a vibrant open web, providing the public with unprecedented access to ideas, artistic expression, information, goods, and services. Through this monopolization lawsuit, the Justice Department and state attorneys general seek to restore competition in these important markets and obtain equitable and monetary relief on behalf of the American public. As alleged in the complaint, over the past 15 years, Google has engaged in a course of anti-competitive and exclusionary conduct that consisted of neutralizing or eliminating ad tech competitors through acquisitions, wielding its dominance across digital advertising markets to force more publishers and advertisers to use its products, and thwarting the ability to use competing products. In doing so, Google cemented, why are we at this fucking word again? Google cemented its dominance in tools relied on by website publishers and online advertisers, as well as the digital advertising exchange that runs ad auctions. Today's complaint alleges that Google has used anti-competitive, exclusionary, and unlawful conduct to eliminate or severely diminish any threat to its dominance over digital advertising technologies, said Attorney General Merrick B. Garland. No matter the industry and no matter the company, the Justice Department will vigorously enforce our antitrust laws to protect consumers, safeguard competition, and ensure economic fairness and opportunity for all. The complaint filed today alleges a pervasive and systemic pattern of misconduct through which Google sought to consolidate market power and stave off free market competition, said Deputy Attorney General Lisa O. Monaco. Am I saying that right? Who knows? In pursuit of outsized profits, Google has caused great harm to online publishers and advertisers and American consumers. This lawsuit marks an important milestone in the department's efforts to hold big technology companies accountable for violations of the antitrust laws. The department's landmark action against Google underscores our commitment to fighting the abuse of market power, said Associate Attorney General Vanita Gupta. We allege that Google has captured publishers' revenue for its own profits and punished publishers who sought out alternatives. Those actions have weakened the free and open internet and increased advertising costs for businesses and for the United States government, including for our military. Today's lawsuit seeks to hold Google to account for its, I was thinking increasing advertising costs for the government. Did they mean like recruitment costs? I don't know. Anyway, it's okay. So it says today's lawsuit seeks to hold Google account for its long-standing monopolies in digital advertising technologies that content creators use to sell ads and advertisers use to buy ads on the open internet, said Assistant Attorney General Jonathan Cantor of the Justice Department's Antitrust Division. Our complaint sets forth detailed allegations explaining how Google engaged in 15 years of sustained conduct that had and continues to have the effect of driving out rivals, diminishing competition, inflating advertising costs, reducing revenues for news publishers and content creators, snuffing out innovation, and harming the exchange of information and ideas in the public sphere. Google now controls the digital tool that nearly every major website publisher uses to sell ads on their websites. Publisher Ad Server. It controls the dominant advertiser tool that helps millions of large and small advertisers buy ad inventory. Advertiser Ad Network. And it controls the largest advertising exchange, Ad Exchange, a technology that runs real-time auctions to match buyers and sellers of online advertising. So, between the Ad Exchange, from the website publishers, you know what I mean, they go into DoubleClick for publishers, and so that's where you have the publisher for the ad server. And so they bid a request there in the Ad Exchange, and then they get a response there, right? So that's the sell side, where you're selling the ads. And then, where you're publishing the ads there. And then on the buying side, so this is for the website publishers. And for the advertisers on the buying side, you've got your demand side platform, which is your programmatic advertisement usually. So like display and video 360 can get up in there too. And then Google Ads. So, which is the advertiser ad network, where you have small and large advertisers. And demand side platforms typically going to be your agencies or large advertisers. So yeah. And those go through this ad exchange as well. And by bid request and bid response, that's where they're saying it's an auction. So yeah, so the image description. The graphic of digital advertising market. The digital advertising market is divided into 3 sections. Sell side, inventory on the left, buy side, demand on the right, and an ad exchange in the middle. Sell side inventory is made up of website publishers that flow to Google's DoubleClick for Publishers Publisher Ad Server, which has more than 90% of market share. Google Ad Exchange, which is greater than or equal to 50% of the ad exchange market share, receives bid requests from the publisher ad server, sends them to the buy-side demand, receives bid responses from the buy-side demand, and sends them back to the publisher ad server. Buy-side demand is made up of advertisers that flow to either Google Ads, Advertiser Ad Network for small and large advertisers, which has about 80% market share, or Google's Display and Video 360 demand-side platform for agencies or larger advertisers, which has about 40% market share. Google's anti-competitive conduct has included acquiring competitors, engaging in a pattern of acquisitions to obtain control over key digital advertising tools used by website publishers to sell advertising space, forcing adoption of Google's tools, locking in website publishers to its newly acquired tools by restricting its unique must-have advertiser demand to its ad exchange, and in turn conditioning effective real-time access to its ad exchange on the use of its publisher ad server, distorting auction competition, limiting real-time bidding on publisher inventory to its ad exchange, and impeding rival ad exchanges' ability to compete on the same terms as Google's ad exchange, and auction manipulation, manipulating auction mechanics across several of its products to insulate Google from competition, deprive rivals of scale, and halt the rise of rival technologies. As a result of its illegal monopoly, and by its own estimates, Google pockets on average more than 30% of the advertising dollars that flow through its digital advertising technology products. For some transactions, and for certain publishers and advertisers, it takes far more. Google's anti-competitive conduct has suppressed alternative technologies, hindering their adoption by publishers, advertisers, and rivals. The Sherman Act embodies America's enduring commitment to the competitive process and economic liberty. For over a century, the department has enforced the antitrust laws against unlawful monopolists to unfetter markets and restore competition. To redress Google's anti-competitive conduct, the department seeks both equitable relief on behalf of the American public, I don't think I said that right, as well as treble damages for losses sustained by federal government agencies that overpaid for web display advertising. This enforcement action marks the first monopolization case in approximately half a century in which the department has sought damages for a civil antitrust violation. In 2020, the Justice Department filed a civil antitrust suit against Google for monopolizing search and search advertising, which are different markets than digital advertising technology markets at issue in the lawsuit filed today. The Google search litigation is scheduled for trial in September 2023. Google is a limited liability company organized and existing under the laws of the state of Delaware, with a headquarters in Mountain View, California. Google's global network business generated approximately $31.7 billion in revenues in 2021. Google is owned by Alphabet Incorporated, a publicly traded company incorporated and existing under the laws of the state of Delaware and headquartered in Mountain View, California. So yeah, basically, the too long didn't read of all of this, as they're saying, Google is making it so that people have to use them basically if they want a chance at winning, because they have over 90% market share on the website publishers. So even though there's other options for running ads on the buy side demand, on the sell side inventory, because they've done what they've done the way they've done it, they've got us all the way fucked up. And so let's, I don't know, right? I'm tired. So that's what I got from this. Something like that. That didn't come out right, or maybe it did. Who knows? Okay, so now I'm not going to read all of this, because that's the whole fucking point of this playlist that we are in and this live stream that we are recapping, is that we have been reading all of this. But I'm just going to go over what we have been reading here. Where I'm getting my information from is from the Department of Justice, their Antitrust Division. They have these cases posted online. So for the 2020 case, this is the one that is in Judge Mehta's court. Mehta, A-M-I-T-M-E-H-T-A. I don't think I've been saying those names correctly. And this is regarding the monopolization. And so we have been reading basically and going through all of this material. Well, not all of it, but a lot of it. Like, we didn't go through every single document, I believe, in terms of, like, we definitely didn't go through all of these remedies, if I remember correctly. I don't think we went through, like, I think I pick and chose some of the discovery documents. I think we went through the pre-trial materials and the trial materials, but we went, yeah, we've been getting through what we've been getting through. I don't think I'm gonna do these. Maybe I will be doing these remedies. I don't know. I'll probably be doing these remedies hearing exhibits are new. But we're on the trial exhibits currently. That's where we're at. I might get to the remedies. Who knows? But the reason I think it's important, to be going through all of this is because the more we understand why Google has to make certain changes, the more we're going to understand the changes that Google makes and where it's going to go in the future. So by understanding why the powerhouse of marketing has to act in accordance to certain ways, we understand where the fuck the future of marketing is going to go. You know what I mean? How is information going to get found? Like, to me, it's monumental to be diving as much into this case as possible. So yeah, I know I haven't gone through all of this, but because it's been so long since I originally covered this, like literally last year, I haven't touched this material in like over 9 months now. You know what I mean? So because it's been so long, I don't really remember what I have or have not covered in terms of each individual document. So, and also on that note, because next up, after we finish this case, we're going to go through the 2023 case and judge Brinkema, Brinkema. I think her first name is Leonie, Leonie. And we're going to go over all of that material as well. It looks like, luckily for me, seems to be, if I understand correctly, at this time, hopefully not as much material to go through. I mean, it does look like they have a good amount of trial exhibits as well. And yes, I'm going to be doing that bitch as well. But their materials and everything currently, they don't currently have as much published here. So in some ways we will be going over the same material for the new case, but in some ways it will be different because they have different things available to us. Plus, I don't know document by document what I covered. So I might take the time to figure that out, document by document, what got covered on the other one, to do the same thing here. But I might not. I might just fucking cover whatever the fuck feels right in the moment. But yeah, so it's linked in the description of this video where I'm getting my information from and my court documents from related to these cases. It's all published under the Department of Justice for the Antitrust Division online, and that's kind of what's coming up. So also there's been a lot published that I'm just now seeing also regarding remedies and those exhibits and everything like that, and the new updates from 2025 on this case as well. So yeah, but y'all can see how it's getting confusing, like just talking about the two different cases for me gets confusing. With the news coverage, I can kind of do it because it kind of helps me process this information to consider the differences in this way. But you can see, because they are so commingled and related, that is why I need to keep my coverage of the actual material separate, or I will get confused as fuck. So that's why I'm going to finish this first one, and then we'll move on to the next one, and we'll get both done. So yeah, and speaking of moving on, next up we are going to just go into the hair stuff real quick. We'll go over changes and everything like that. So I have read a shit ton of shit on hair, and I've added a lot more sources, and I've also added the products that I've used and what I've purchased and I'm about to use in here as well. And so we are at 375 links currently in this spreadsheet at the time of this, or 374 links, my bad, at the time of this video in this spreadsheet. So that's a lot of material. And if I remember correctly, I may have read, I'm not entirely sure actually, but I feel like I read a lot of articles. I don't really know the exact number. Definitely more than 20. I feel like maybe I'm exaggerating if I say 100, but if I'm not wrong, that's even funnier. Yeah, like I've read a lot more on hair care since I last did any content on it, but just to kind of go over the categories of content that I've been reading, I have what's considered, like, even if we want to say the curl typing chart doesn't matter in terms of it's not real, nothing's real, it's all arbitrary type shit and was made to sell products. If we look at the fact that the chart does account for different curl types, and it does account for different texture in terms of coarseness to fine, you know, when we look at it kind of in that way, I do feel it can help, even though porosity matters a lot with the order of the products you use in terms of what type of products, you know, whether it's going to be weigh your hair down, whether you need something, how the oils travel down your hair type things, those do matter in terms of the curl, like, typing chart, whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? Like, it can all be told by that, right? For example, straighter hair is going to be oilier because oil will travel down more. But then people who have, like, kind of straight but loose wave hair like me, but mostly straight but kind of loosely wavy, two-way hair, our hair, we can have dry hair at the ends, because, you know, you start losing that moisture, especially if it's finer hair, and it's not, when you have fine hair, you have less layers. You know, so your hair is going to lose moisture easier from those ends. And your ends, you know, they're open. So that's why people seal them with oils. But yeah, so your hair starts to lose that moisture from the end, but then your scalp is producing it. And so that's why a lot of people have, like, oily hair up top and then the ends are still dry, you know, type issue. And things like that. So I feel like understanding, you know, or at least that's an issue with my hair type, two-way hair. So I feel like understanding, like, your hair type on that curl chart can help you understand why your hair behaves in certain ways or why it reacts to products in certain ways, and things like that. So I also have a bunch of sources on here about breakage. I got sources on here about brushing hair, drying your hair, fine hair, hair anatomy, hair growth, hair elasticity, hair loss, hair oil, hair type, washing your hair, healthy hair, liquid cream oil versus liquid oil cream in terms of the liquid cream oil versus liquid oil cream in terms of the method, order of products that you want to apply to your hair based on the porosity. So medium porosity, our hair cuticle, it doesn't lay as low or as smooth as low porosity, but it's not as high as higher porosity because your hair cuticle kind of lays like shingles, you know what I'm saying? Like this. So, like, with that being said, if you have a higher porosity hair and your hair is like this, like layers laying like this on top of each other, your cuticle, you know, so it's very easy for moisture to get in, so your hair does get wet fast, but at the same time it gets dry real fast too because it's super easy for that moisture to leave. So typically if you have a higher porosity hair, you typically would need a heavier cream. Like the moisture in your hair is going to start escaping so fast that you need to go ahead and seal it in immediately. Basically, after you get that water in, you go ahead and or that moisture in, you know, that hydration, then you seal it with an oil, and then that oil, then you want to put your cream on top of that because that's going to create a barrier between the moisture and the oil to help, because oils, they do create a barrier, but they can also penetrate. And so what oil does is help it so that the moisture won't leave as fast. So that's why you still need a heavier butter on a higher porosity hair as well, because you need it to still be absorbing into that oil. So when you combine those three in that order for a higher porosity hair that dries out super fast, that's how you get it to retain moisture. Versus a low porosity hair, it can get moisture very easy. But at the same time, it takes forever to dry because, or actually, it doesn't get moisture very easy, and it takes forever to dry because it's hard for moisture to get in and moisture to get out. I apologize, my mind was thinking of low and high. It gets confused. Anyway, that's why I had to keep those court documents separate. That's why I have to keep this. I get this confused too. So anyway, but with a lower porosity, it's more sealed. So it takes way longer to dry, but it also takes way longer to get wet. And so that being said, what you need for this one is liquid cream oil, because you need the oil on the outside to create that barrier, but you're going to have that cream on the middle. And the reason being is you want to seal the moisture and the hydration properties from the cream with the oil on the outside. Because otherwise, on this hair type, if you put the oil first and then the cream, you're not going to get the benefits of the cream, because the hair is already so sealed that if you seal it more before and then add the cream on top, you've sealed out the cream. Versus with a higher porosity hair, the water escapes so quickly. You have to hurry up and seal it in so you don't lose it too fast, and then you can add cream. And it's losing more. It has such that risk of losing that water and the moisture that the oil, it does help prevent that, but it doesn't help prevent it enough to stop the benefits of the cream on top with a higher porosity. You know what I mean? Versus me with this medium porosity, I can do whatever fuck works for me based on the product. So, and based on what my hair needs in that moment. And so it's a journey, right? And so then I also have a whole category in here for low density. I'm so sorry, I just info dumped way too long on that. But I just feel like it was really important for me to go on that ramble, because understanding that has been monumental to understanding the order of applying products to my hair in order to actually get the benefits of the oils and creams that I use when I do use it. And a lot of times I will be using a lot of products, but you don't always have to either when you have medium porosity. I don't know about low or high porosity because I don't have that porosity, but I'm talking about my hair type. So yeah, I also talk about parting in here, products I've used, of course, and then not only do I put products that I've used or that are new to me that I plan on using soon in here, I've also put just general information about what I read about products in here, as well as protein versus moisture, because there's like so much content on there about protein versus moisture, overload and hydro or whatever the fuck it is, fatigue and shit like that. And then a little bit about other people's routines in here. I did put someone else's routines in here, but I like watching other people's routines to understand how they take care of their hair, but I do think it's important to note that you shouldn't just be doing other people's routines unless you understand their hair type and how it applies to your hair type, and you want to try that for your hair type. Because sometimes maybe you'll have the same hair type, or there'll be something about their hair type that's like yours that makes you want to try that routine. But just be aware that other people's routines may not work for you. And I think that's like where a lot of people get messed up, is they go online looking for other people's routines to copy because they don't have a routine for themselves. And then when they're copying other people's routines, that doesn't work for them because they don't have that fucking hair type, you know? So if you are going to do that, at least really try and understand your hair type. What is your density? What is your porosity? What is your texture? Like all of that, because it all really does matter. Like how thick or thin your hair is going to determine what types of products you use, as well as how you detangle it, how you section it, your thickness as well as the curl, whether it's straight or wavy or curly or coily, is going to determine what tools you use, when you want to detangle, things like that. How often is best for you to wash your hair can all be determined by these things. And how your hair takes product, and whether or not you need more or less product determined by not only length but also how much of the hair there is. Like, so I don't know. It all matters. So scalp care is in here, scalp massage, and all of that. And so a lot of the new material that, if I remember correctly, is related to scalp massage. I believe scalp massage is new. Parting should be new, if I'm not mistaken. Off the top of my head, I feel like a lot of this hair oil shit is new in here. But to be honest, and a lot of this drying hair stuff should be new, if I'm not mistaken. And I feel like there's other new stuff I'm forgetting too, but whatever. And I might be wrong about what is or new or old, because I can't really remember what I've read when. But I did make a list of all of my sources that I've read that are new since I last added, and I'm going to put all of that in the description of this video. So either I'm sorry or you're welcome, but that is the update and the ramble about my hair care links, sources, tools, and notes. And so, like, what the fuck has changed there, you know what I mean? Oh, also, feel very important to note that previously, when I was first getting into my hair loss journey, I was instantly informed to use a bonnet. And, in that time, I was exposed to different things where at that time I was being told to use a bonnet, right? It wasn't until later I was exposed to other information like, no, this is considered cultural appropriation, don't do that. I'm like, ooh, okay, my bad. So, not that it excuses it, but just like, I think it's important to understand a way that cultural appropriation can perpetuate is because of people being exposed to information saying, hey, do this thing. And then you realize it's problematic, and then you're like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't do that thing. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Anyway, fucking, alright, I'm over here thinking about doing the rest of this live stream, and I'm realizing I'm not going to make it, but we're going to talk about that one after I finish this hair stuff. Okay, I apologize. So, not that but the reason I'm talking about cultural appropriation and stuff and the bonnet is my boss got me a sleeping beanie. It's a satin-lined sleeping beanie, and I just feel like it's important to highlight that here because she felt like, from her perspective, this wouldn't be cultural appropriation because everybody kind of uses these types of products. So it's a satin lined, it's just a sleeping beanie, and in the little bow you can take it off if you want to. So she got me one of these, and I fucking love it. And it has like this adjustable strappy thingy on it, and it fits really well in my head. And yeah, so for people who are not black but are looking to protect your hair at night regarding hair loss issues, if that is a problematic thing to do, I apologize because I just haven't been made aware of or in a space yet to be informed of if it's problematic. But from my understanding, the sleeping beanie, a satin-lined sleeping beanie, is the way to go. So we can, have our cake and eat it too, perhaps, if that makes sense. But yeah. So, moving on. Changes to the hair journal template. I've had and to my product list. I have been trying way too many products, and honestly, I highly do recommend for at least one phase in your life being a product junkie. I think every person should go through a product junkie phase just to try and determine how certain things work for you. But I swear to fucking God, I'm gonna use all this shit up before I buy new shit. Hopefully that's my plan, but I'm kind of addicted, so I might buy something if I really want it. But I'm trying not to buy any fucking thing else till I use a bunch of this shit and I'm like actually really needing things. But to be honest, like I've been on this journey of exploring all of these products lately, but I kind of want to go back to trying 2 things that have previously worked really well for me. Well, actually 3 things. The best my hair ever really looked, though, in my opinion, was when I was using Tresemme in high school. But then in middle school, I also used Swab, and my hair looked pretty good then too, I think. But I want to try using Tresemme again. And then a few years ago, I was using L'Oreal. I'm debating whether or not to test that back out again, but I want to go back to Tresemme. So I'm trying to kind of get rid of everything and then test out Tresemme again and go back to just Tresemme for my shampoo and conditioner. In terms of the hair oils and mousses and all of that, obviously I think there's a certain level of being an unhealthy product junkie, which I may be at that level right now. But you know what? Close your good eye. Don't think about it. But I do think that on another level, I'm glad I have the variety of products I have, because I've been having a lot of fun doing my hair lately, and I always have what I need to get the style I want to do. So, you know, highs and lows. Basically, what I've been doing is very similar. Where I left off, I believe, was, around November. So in November, I was basically just doing morning detangler, and like at that time, I was doing mostly a detangler. I was doing a leave-in conditioner every other day, and besides that, I was doing a detangler for the most part. And since then, and I also had some different schedules for my oil routines. Well, after that, between November and March, I was just like not really having logging what my routine was, but I was kind of doing that, but I didn't really do the oil routines. I just kind of like put where the fuck oil I wanted on my hair and when I wanted it there type thing. But then I was experiencing itchiness in my scalp, so I went back to logging and documenting what I've been doing, because I'm trying to pinpoint what's been itching. And so between March and now, I went through phases of taking out different products, and I don't really remember off the top of my head what I did when, but it's all logged up in here, so you can go read it if you want to, but I'm not going to take the time to do that right now. But basically, I went through different phases of, like, I cut out everything coconut, because I was like, maybe I have a coconut allergy. That wasn't the issue. Then I decided to cut out everything jojoba. I was like, maybe I have a jojoba allergy. That wasn't the issue. Then I decided to stop trying oils. I didn't do oils for a long time. That apparently wasn't the issue either. And then I stopped doing just like I was cutting out different shampoos and conditioners, and then I started realizing when I was only using one of my shampoos that I wasn't having an itch. And so then in my product list, I just highlighted, was going through all of the ingredients of the common ingredients, and I was realizing the one shampoo and conditioner that basically doesn't give me an itch is also like the one where I go look at the different ingredients for the rest of them. Like, it doesn't have an ingredient that is ingredients that are common in the rest. So by that I mean all of these other shampoos and stuff have ingredients that I can't pronounce, but let's try it, like methylisodazolonium or some shit, or methylchlorosotazolonium. I don't fucking know. MIMCT or something is how I'm seeing them, like, abbreviated and labeled. But like, apparently these ingredients are known common allergens, right? I don't know for sure if I'm allergic or not. I'm probably not. Maybe I am. Who knows? But all I know is when I use products with the products that I happen to notice give me an itch happen to have those ingredients, one or both of them. So maybe I am allergic. Who knows? So yeah, I've been wondering that. I kind of want to look into that a little more. So I've been still using, because it gives me this like itch and this rash on my scalp, which I know is bad for you. And theoretically, like everybody says, like if you have an itch of a product, if you think you're allergic to a product, don't fucking use it, is what they tell you. But I mean, honestly, I've been still seeing a lot of hair growth, and so since I don't feel like it's causing me to go bald. Maybe it is. Maybe it's, and I should stop. I've still been using all of these products anyway, because I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna use this shit up, and then when I figure out what product does work really well for me, I'm gonna just, that's when I'm gonna just keep buying, you know. So yeah. So I think we've covered everything. We've covered what I've been doing, what I was doing between now, and also I've been labeling, like I've been logging like what gives me an itchy scalp as well, and that's part of determining this, like looking, like cross-examining the ingredient list as well as that. So if I could do it all different again, what I would do is, instead of like, I was just trying all these new products when I got them, you know, like real excited. What I would do different again is just like slowly introduce each product into your routine. You know what I mean? Um, like say you're using the same shampoo and conditioner you're using that you've always been using. I would use that shampoo and conditioner. Say you want to buy a new oil, buy that new oil, try it for like a few weeks. Say you want to buy some new leave-in. Buy the new leave-in if you want to, but don't use it yet. Wait a few more weeks, just see how your hair reacts to the oil. Then if you feel like you're not having a reaction to the oil, start using that leave-in too. You know what I mean? Don't just go buy new leave-in, new oil, new detangler, new all of that all at once, throw it all together, and then not know what's causing you a reaction like I did. That's all. Just learn from my mistakes. And when I was buying all this shit, I was watching these videos and I'm reading these articles and they all say that shit, and I'm all like, fuck it. I've always used different products, you know, and so I did that shit anyway. That was a mistake. Carol Ann, stay away from the light. So yeah. And so, oh yeah, another thing I forgot to say is, another thing I tested was, not only was I testing at one point whether or not to go with or without using oils, I also started testing how many days in between to use oils, if that mattered as well. So yeah, like all these things that I was testing, that are all noted. And I've also been getting into styling lately and using round brushes and blow dry my hair. So I will do more live streams about styling coming up and things like that. But that is my next current hyper focus with hair. Now that I'm understanding how my hair works with products, I'm understanding why I believe my body is responding in certain ways to what I've done. Now that I'm getting that kind of under control, I am starting to focus on styling, and I've been using a lot of flexi rods, a lot of the heatless wave satin roller thing lately, and I also want to use my hot rollers again, but I haven't yet because I just don't want to do too much heat, and I've been blow drying a lot lately. So I've also been trying to learn blow drying, using the round brushes. So I think I'm gonna do a whole little video just on my journey with learning round brushes. Fuck it, I don't know. So yeah. Alrighty. So I feel like I have talked a lot today about hair. So originally when I first started this live stream, I was like, I'm also gonna do a reaction to this lecture, and I kind of want to do it, but at the same time, I am really tired. And I just feel like if I do it, it's not like, I'm already feeling my energy go boom. And I feel like I didn't give the best reading I could give because my voice is tired and I'm getting tired. So I feel like I'll do a better video if I do this tomorrow instead. So that's what I think I'm going to do. I think I'm just going to end up here, get ready for bed. I'm going to update the description and the title to reflect that I'm not going to do this lecture in this video, but I will be doing that lecture probably tomorrow, or coming up soon. But what I plan on doing tomorrow and the next day is basically just kind of live streaming as much as possible. And I want to cover as much of the court document as possible related to these Google cases as well. And so that's probably what we'll do tomorrow, is I will do a reaction to this lecture and then get back into the Google documents and everything like that. And so, yeah, I think that's what I'll start off with tomorrow. Maybe I'll also do my hair. Who knows? We'll see how that goes. But yeah, so I was, and if you're confused as to what the fuck I'm talking about right now, I'm talking about the fact that I was originally going to do a reaction to the 8th lecture of the Stanford playlist on how to start a startup. It was put on by what used to be called Y Combinator, but they changed their name to YC Root Access since we last covered it. But it used to be the Y Combinator, how to start a startup playlist from Stanford, but now it's YC Root Access. So next time we're going to cover the 8th lecture, and that's going to talk about how to get started, doing things that don't scale and press. And it's going to feature Stanley Ting, Walker Williams, and Justin Kahn. So I'm going to do that next time. We're also going to pick back up with the legal documentation. And we're going to pick back up where we were with the trial exhibits from the 2020 search monopoly case as well. So yeah, so thank you for joining me today. I don't know if today's fucking weird or not. Like, I mean, I feel like I'm always weird, but you know, I feel like a little bit weirder than normal. And then the lighting also is different than it used to be because, again, I don't know if you've seen my last live video, but my webcam broke, so I had to get a new webcam. Well, actually, it was an old webcam. I had to get a different webcam, but new to these live streams, and that doesn't have a light. So this is an old bike headlight that I took, and it's too bright to have that in my fucking face. Now, fuck that. So I just kind of got this pointing off to the side, and that's kind of illuminated me a little bit. So that way I'm not like otherwise sitting here in the dark. It's even worse. It's kind of, yeah, I don't know, but I'm a little weird. I'm a little crazy. Thank you for joining me today. I wear this house dress a lot for these live streams. It's like really comfy ass dress, man. So ignore how often you see that in these live streams. Yes, I have different clothes. Yeah, I wear my other outfits when I leave this house. But dude, I've been thinking about like, should I get dressed to do these live streams? But to be honest, if I start getting dressed to do these live streams, I swear to fucking God, y'all are going to be catching some breaks, and those clothes are going to be coming off, and I'll be putting on my comfy clothes. Like, I'll be starting off a live stream dress and end up in my PJs by the end of it. I feel like that's going to happen, because, like, I just get uncomfy. When I get home, the first thing I fucking do usually is take my fucking clothes off, put on something comfier. Unless I have, like, another meeting or something else to do or I have to stay dressed for. But if not, nah. And, yeah, and the reason I don't even bother, like, getting dressed nicer for live streams because of my comfort, you know? I don't know, but like, should I? Because like, apparently that's like a social issue, matters to people. Who knows? Think about that. All right, I'm actually ending this bitch now. I'm fucking tired. I'm glad I decided not to do that reaction. It would take way too long. I talk way too much. But I'm happy I did this processing because I think it's important to catch up on the hair stuff, you know? And remember, the reason that it all started is because of my hair loss journey. And so, yeah, oh yeah, and so that's another fucking thing I forgot to mention about the hair situation, you know? If you look at the hair playlist and everything, when it all started, yeah, my hair was a bit longer in length, but from like, I don't think it was down here. It was probably like boob length. But from like here to here, it was like dead. It was all dead ends, you know? And so then I cut off a big like almost to shoulder length, I think. It was pretty short. I cut off a big bit of it, and it's been growing out ever since. But before I had cut it, I hadn't cut my hair in 2 or 3 years, and then I got it cut last year. I got all the dead ends cut. I went to her, I said, just get all the damage off. And so since then, I've been doing quarterly trims, washing my hairbrushes and all of that, and my hair has been growing. Keeping my hair washed every other day or so, depending. So you know, the shit. And I do blow dry it a few times a week, but I always use heat protection. So I don't have, even though my hair is shorter, it's at like a relatively decent length, you know? And there is a lot of thinning, but a lot of it is starting to grow. You can see that regrowth. You can see, even with the lights, you know, the flyaways, you can see the regrowth. So yeah, I'm happy with that. Very happy with that. All right, for real, ending now. The most ADHD fucking live streams ever. I'm sorry, or you're welcome, however that should be. So yeah, where the fuck is my ending screen at? Oh, okay, it's right here. Bye. Thanks for watching. Join the loyalty program at noladeathchild.com/loyalty and check in during live streams to get points for rewards.